Hello everyone and welcome to SimpliCode's YouTube channel. Kaushal this side and I hope you guys are doing well. Today we are going to work on another jQuery project. We'll create a to-do list using HTML, CSS and jQuery along with some jQuery UI as well. We'll see how easy it is to use jQuery in making such web pages. So before we begin, make sure that you are subscribed to our YouTube channel and press that bell icon to never miss any updates on programming videos. So without any further delay, let's get started. A to-do list refers to a list of things or tasks that a person wants to get done or that need to be done. It contains a list basically. So let's go through the overview of what we are going to do today. So here we are on the browser. We have a to-do list over here. You can see we have a text box over here to give some input. We have a button present next to it and it says add. Anything will write here and then if we press add, the task will be added to a list below the text box. The list is unordered here. So let's suppose we have 4 tasks to do. So what we'll do is we'll write here task 1. We'll click on add. Then we'll write here task 2. Then we'll add task 3. And finally we'll add task 4 as well. Fine. So here we have 4 tasks to do. Now let's suppose we are done with task 1. We did it whatever the task it was. What we want now is we want to remove this task from the list. Double click on task 1 and you can see the task fades out. Right. The task is deleted. The transition here was smooth and interactive, right? So another thing we can do is we can change the positions of these tasks by ourselves. Try to drag any task from here. You can see we are dragging task 2 in place of task 4. You can see we have task 2 at the last and task 4 is present in between now. Fine. I hope you guys must have got the task by now. It's simple and what we have to do is to create this whole thing on our own from scratch. We'll divide this thing into 3 parts, starting with HTML for creating the structure. Then we'll move on and work on the styling using CSS. And finally, we'll use jQuery to add functionality. So let's start with the programming part without wasting any time. So let me zoom out the Chrome browser. Here we are. And here you can see we have a HTML file which is named as todo1.html. Then we have linked the CSS file and the JavaScript file here as well. We have used jQuery and jQuery UI. Fine. So we'll start writing the code here only. What we'll do is we'll remove this line from here and we'll start writing here. So first thing first, we have to take a container for the whole box we are going to make. So we'll write here div. Let's say the class is going to be container for this div. And here we have a first div tag. Now we'll add a heading. So we'll write here h2. Now inside this we'll write, let's say, to-do list using jQuery. Fine. We are done with it. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to write a paragraph over here. We want this paragraph to be bold and italic. So you can see it over here. We have written over here, double click to delete an item and drag to reorder. So we'll do this thing here. Now what we have to do is we have to take a p tag for that. Now inside this p tag, we want this paragraph to be bold and italic, right? So we'll take b and I. We'll take both the tags over here. Now inside this we'll write double click to delete an item and drag to reorder. Fine. So we have to write here drag to reorder. We are good to go. Now the next thing we have to do is we have to add a form. So let's add a form here as well. Now what we'll do is we'll use the form tag over here. We'll write here form. The name is going to be, let's say, to-do list. Fine. This is the form name. We'll write here to-do list. Then we'll close this and inside here we'll create an input box or we can say a text box. So for that we have input tag. So we'll write here input type is equals to text. And let's say we have a name for this text box. Fine. So we'll write here name is equals to list item. Fine. So we have list item over here. Now what we'll do is we'll put this right over here. Now next thing we have to do is to add a button for a container. So For that, we'll write after this form tag, we'll write div id is equals to, let's say, button, and the button name is going to be add. Fine. Then what we'll do is we'll use a br tag over here, and after this we'll take unordered list. So we'll take ul tag over here. We'll see why we are taking it. So basically the ul tag here is for the list items which we'll be taking as input in the jQuery part. So let's style this form as well, but before that let's save it. So you can see we have a text box over here, we have this heading over here, we have a paragraph, we have a text box, and we have a button over here. We haven't used the button tag for this particular button. So we'll style it and we'll manage to make it look like a button. So let's move on to the CSS part now. We'll start with the whole body of our web page. So for that, we'll write here body. Now inside the body tag, what we'll do is we'll write here background color. So we have some predefined color over here in this particular to-do list web page. So you can see the color over here is grayish in color. So the color code for this color is #50. Then we have 4F4F. Fine. So this is the color code. You can use any color of your choice. So for now we are going to use this. Save it, and you can see the color is changed to gray. Now the next thing we are going to do is we are going to put this box in between the web page, right? So we'll write here margin top. Margin top is going to be, let's say, 150 pixels. Save it, and you can see we have the to-do list over here. Now the next thing we have to do is we have to style a container as well. For that we'll write here dot container. Then inside this we'll write padding. So let's say the padding is 20 pixels. Then we have width of the container. So let's say the width is 300 pixels. Then we have margin. So we'll write here margin 0 and auto. Fine. Then we have margin top as well. So margin top is going to be 40 pixels. Then we'll write here background color. So the background color's value is going to be 202, 241, and then we have 239. Fine. So this is going to be the background color of our container. Now the next thing we have to mention over here is the border radius and the box shadow. So we'll write here border radius. Now the border radius is going to be, let's say, 25 pixels, and then we have box shadow. Fine. So for box shadow, what we'll do is we'll write here 5 pixels, 5 pixels. Then we have 15 pixels, 3 pixels, and then we have the RGB value. So the box shadow is going to be blackish in color. So we'll write here 54, 54, 54. It's grayish although. Now the next thing we have to do is to style the form. So for that we'll use the form tag. We'll write here form. We'll write here display. Display is going to be inline and in block. Then we have the input tag as well. So we'll write here input, and we'll give some padding over here. So we'll write here padding is going to be 4 pixels, and then we have 15 pixels. Let's say 4 pixels and 5 pixels. Fine. Then at the last, what we'll do is we'll style a button as well. We have used the div tag for a button, not a button tag. So we'll style it as well. So we'll write here hash button. Now this hash button is the ID of a button. So we'll write here display. We'll write inline block. Then we have, after this display, we have background color. So the background color we have to decide for a box. So let's say we want it to be white in color. Fine. So let's say this is the background color of a button. So let's save it once, and you can see the background color is white. So what we'll do is we'll change the background color over here. We'll write here hash F1. Let's say we want to make it bluish in color. Fine. So we'll write here F12DD. Fine. We have to put a 0 over here as well. Now it will look fine. Save it, and you can see we have a button of blue color. So let's change the font color as well. So for that we'll write here color, and color is going to be white. So save it now, and you can see we have the font color as white for a button. Then we have to write here border radius. Border radius is going to be 5 pixels for this button. Then we have text align at the center, and after text align we have margin top. Margin top is going to be 2 pixels, and then after margin top we have to define the padding as well. So we'll write here padding as 5 pixels and 15 pixels. Now save the program, and you can see we have a button over here. The button looks nice, right? So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to write here button again. We want to add hover effect over here. So we'll write here button hover. Then inside this, we'll change the cursor to pointer on taking it to the button. Then we have opacity as well. Let's change the opacity on hovering as well. So let's say the opacity is going to be 0.8. Now it's working fine. We don't have to put any space in between here. So let's do one thing. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to write the styling code for unordered list as well. For unordered list, we'll write here padding. So padding left, basically padding left is going to be 20 pixels. And then we'll write here font weight. Fine, let's say the font weight is going to be bolder. Then we have the list present inside unordered list. So we'll style that as well. We'll write here ULLI, and now we'll style this as well. We'll write here padding. Padding is going to be 5 pixels, and then we have color. So the color is going to be, let's say, RGB 5,5,5. So black basically. And then we'll write here font weight is. So we'll write here font weight. The font weight is going to be bolder, and that's fine. So we have to style every even element, right? If you can see here in this particular program, you can see if we add something over here, the even elements are having gray background color, right? So that's why we need to do this as well. So for that, what we have to do is we have to write here ULLI. Then we have to mention the nth child. So we'll write a nth child, and we'll do this for even child. Fine. So we have to write here then background color. So background color is going to be gray. So the color code for this is 524F4F. Fine. Then we have the text color as well. We want to make it white, so we'll write here white, and then we'll write here finally font weight. Font weight is going to be bolder. Fine. So we are done with it. So the last thing we have to do is we have to write some code for deleting time as well. So we'll write here dot strike, and we'll write here text decoration. Text decoration is going to be line through, and we'll write here nothing. So just leave it here. Now the next thing we are going to do is we are going to write the code for hovering over the list. We'll write here li hover, then we'll write cursor as pointer. Fine. So we are done with the CSS part now. Save it, and you can see here the changes in the web browser. We have the whole to-do list interface over here. The only thing left now is functionality. So let's do that as well. We'll move to the JavaScript file and add functionality to this web page there using jQuery. So here we are in the JavaScript file. We'll do a jQuery part over here. So first of all, we'll write here $document. So we are going to use the document.ready function. So we'll write here ready. Now inside this, we'll write function, and we have the body of this function. So we are good to go. We are good to write a program now. So the first thing we need to do is we need to add the task entered in the text box inside the list, right? For that, what we have to do is we have to write here $. We have to access a button. So we have the button ID as button. So we'll write here button. Then we'll use the click event. We'll write here click. Now we'll define a function inside it. So we'll write here function, and inside the body of this function what we'll do is we'll write here var. So we have to write here var to add, and then we have to add the element. Fine, so we'll write here dollar. Now inside this we have the input tag, so we'll write here input. Inside this we'll write name is equals to list item. So we have the name as list item for our input box, right? If you guys remember that, if we go back to our HTML file, you can see we have the name as list item for this input tag over here. So we are using the same. Then we'll write here dot value. So whatever value that will be present inside the text box or that will be entered inside the text box will store inside to add, will store inside this particular variable. Fine, so we'll write here dot val. Now we have the value inside this particular variable. What we'll do is we'll append this to unordered list. Fine, so we'll write here dollar. We have unordered list, so we'll write here ul. Then we'll write here append. Fine. Now inside this what we'll do is we'll write here li. We want to add this as list, so we'll write here li. Then we'll add to add over here. Fine, so we'll write here to add, and then we have to close this li tag over here. Fine. So save the program now, and what we'll do is we'll try to add something to our list. Fine. So here we have our program. We'll save it. We'll try to write something over here. We'll write here task 11. So we have to write here task 11. Click on add, and you can see we have task 11 written over here. Similarly, we'll write here task 12. Click on add. We have task 12 over here, 13, and then we have 14. Rest of the things are not working. We are not able to sort this list as of now because we haven't done the programming part for that right now. The next thing we have to do is to remove any item from the list on double click, right? For that, we have to create an event and we have to tell the system basically to remove a particular item on double clicking. The task is simple. We'll use the fade effect present in jQuery. So what we'll do is we'll write here dollar document, and then we'll write here dot on. We'll use an event. So we'll write here the event name is double click. Fine. So we'll write here double click. This is the event name. This is a predefined event in jQuery. Then we have to write here li because we want to remove an element from the list only. Fine. Then we'll declare a function over here. Now inside the body of this function we'll write a code. We'll write here dollar. Then we'll write here this dot toggle class. We'll write here strike. So we are toggling a class from the CSS part. Then we'll write here dot fade out. Fine. And let's define the speed of this fade out as well. We'll write here slow. Oh, we have made a mistake over here. So we have to write here fade out. Now we have another error over here. We forgot to put a comma over here. So we'll write here comma. That's it, guys. The list item will fade out if we double click on it now. So let's check if it's working or not. Save the program. Try to add something here over here. We'll write here task 11, 12. Then we have task 13, and then we have task 14. Fine. Now we'll try to delete a particular task. Let's say we want to delete task 12. Double click on it and you can see it's working totally fine, right? The task is deleted. The task is not present here anymore. Now we are done with the adding and deleting part. But if you see here, when we add something to a list, so let's add one item over here first. Let's say we are adding task 50. Fine. Click on add and the item is here. Fine. When we click on the text box again, the previous item is still here. What we want is we want the text box to be empty once the item is added to the list. So for that, what we have to do is we have to write over here dollar. Now we have to access this input box. So we'll write here input. Then we have dot focus and we'll create a function inside this. So we'll write here function. Now inside the body of this function, we'll write dollar this dot val, and we'll write here this. Fine. Save it, and you can see it here. It will work fine now. If we write here, let's say task 1, click on add, click on the text box again, and you can see the text box is empty now. The last thing we have to manage here is sorting them on dragging, right? Sorting the list item on dragging. For that, we have to use the sortable interaction from jQuery UI. So we don't need to write anything over here. Just we'll write here $. We have to sort this unordered list, right? So we'll write here UL, then we'll use the sortable function. So we'll write here sortable, and we are good to go. Fine. So that's it, guys. We are done with it. The to-do list is done. So let's try to use it once and we'll understand it much better. Save it now and we'll see if this thing is working fine or not. We'll add some tasks over here. So let's say we are writing over here task 51. This is our first task. We'll put a space in between over here. Then we have task 52. Fine. Then we have item 1 and item 2. Fine. So we have 4 items and tasks over here. So basically what we want to do is we want to check if this thing is working or not. Double click on task 51. You can see it's working. Try to drag item 1 from here in place of item 2. You can see we are able to do it. Item 1 is present at the bottom now. One more thing we want to do here is we want to add one more item over here. See, we'll add task 53 as well. Click on add. You can see we have task 52, 53 and item 1 and 2. We'll delete all of them. So let's try to do it. Double click on each item. You can see the item is deleted now. Click on the box again and you can see the box is also empty. So it's working totally fine. Now the task for you guys is to make some changes to this particular program and let us know if we can do anything more with this particular program. That's all for this video, guys. See you in another video. If you like this video, do give it a thumbs up. If you have any doubts, do let us know in the comments below. Share it with your friends and don't forget to subscribe SimpliCode. Thank you.